Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we clean up a flower bed on the west side of my house. So let's go. Just for perspective, this is the front of my house, the front yard. And as we go this way, you can see the driveway off in the distance. And recently we've been working on different flower beds. We had worked on that flower bed there. And what I'll do is put links to videos down in the description below. We also worked on this flower bed here. And I've mentioned in previous videos that this year I'm working on one flower bed at a time, just trying to get it closer to the ultimate goal that I have in different flower beds, which is to weed them and find plants that I feel would thrive in a certain location. So this is the bed that we're working on now. So far, it has been weeded, it's been edged, and I have started work in here. But I figured I'd just show you some of the things that we're going to be doing today, just to bring you along on this journey. In the spring, there were some bulbs that bloomed in here, some daffodils, and I'm keeping those there because those add nice interest during the spring months. And then after the daffodils went by, there were some iris towards the back of the bed that bloomed, and those also looked very pretty in here. Towards the front of this bed, I had some creeping phlox that I had put in here a few years ago. It's a little too shady. It did not do well in this location. So what I've been doing is I started removing it. I had it towards the front, and it's been removed from there. So what we're going to do today is together we're just going to dig out the rest of the creeping phlox that has been left behind. There's quite a bit of it, and you can see it just does not do well in this location. There is drip irrigation in here towards the front of the bed, but I don't think that's the reason why it's not doing well. I just think that it's not happy in this location. So I'd rather just dig it up from here. I made a video yesterday that showed the process for digging and dividing this lamb's ear here. It's only been here for 1 year. I love it. I think it's so pretty, and I feel like that plant would look gorgeous towards the front of this bed. So that's why I started dividing and moving some of it, which is down over here. And what we're going to do together is we're going to continue filling in areas towards the front of the bed with this lamb's ear. What I'm showing you on the screen right now are just some close-up shots of some of the daylilies that are currently blooming in this bed, as well as the beautiful echinacea or coneflower. I was originally going to pull those out because I felt like they were reaching for the sunlight, but actually I'm going to keep them in here. I've changed my mind. I think that they look really, really pretty, and either this fall or early spring, Mr. Budget Gardener and I are going to come in and we're going to just limb up some of the tall trees that are in here that are providing shade in this area. We don't have to limb up a lot because we're noticing that these plants are still thriving given the light conditions that they're getting. And then we're going to add a nice layer of mulch. You can see that we added mulch over there, and we just need to continue it this way. I know that the drip irrigation is right here, so I just need to be careful as I dig up this creeping phlox. So I've just moved it forward a little bit so it makes it easier to dig. In case you're wondering what will I be doing with this creeping phlox, I will be potting it up. I will divide it all into small pieces and put them in 3-inch pots. And then this plant will get added to my backyard plant nursery. And if I want to shop for it myself for future projects in the yard, I can definitely do that as well. I have made videos showing you my process for dividing creeping phlox. I'll be sure to put a link to that as well as how to divide the lamb's ear down in the description below in case you're interested and want to know how to do that. Well, I took the creeping phlox and I put it in this wheelbarrow. This is a temporary holding spot where this is going to stay for no more than a week because these do need to get back outside. And I recommend this process that if you dig up a plant and you don't know where to put it in a container or a pot or a wheelbarrow, but make sure you tend to it and find it a new home wherever that's going to be. In my case, its new home will be down in my backyard plant nursery, but for you, it might be somewhere else in your landscape. The key thing being you might not have a new home for a plant that you've just dug up. So you want to make sure you give it some TLC. This is in the shade. I'm going to backfill it with some soil, add some water, and it will get potted back up within the next week. I love this new clean look. The creeping phlox just wasn't doing it for me. I had good intentions, but when things don't work, you just have to make edits and change your garden. So now we have opportunity. We have space. I think the lamb's ear is going to look so pretty. I tested it out in this one section here just because I wasn't sure how it would look. And I love it. I think it looks really pretty. And you can see this area does get some sun. I think it's enough sun for the lamb's ear. I just didn't think it was enough sun for the creeping phlox. So let's continue planting going in this direction here. I made a video last year planting this lamb's ear in this bed here. And I definitely am enjoying having it in this bed here. So I guess what I'm saying is we may be adding some of this back here, but I want to take from this. I want to take and divide, and it's better for the plant anyway. This process is forcing me to divide this plant so that it can grow and spread. It's amazing how many plants you can get out of your own yard when you shop your own yard like this. I'm just removing some of the old growth that's at the base here. A lot of that old growth harbors insects and disease, so you want to make sure that you keep your lamb's ear healthy and clean at all times. It's amazing that I only bought one plant from a backyard plant nursery. If I had to guess, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, so at the time I divided it up and put it in pots, kept it in my backyard plant nursery. And then last year we brought down those plants and we planted them in this area. So I can tell this plant is going to be very happy in this area and it's going to multiply quickly from what I'm noticing here. And that's not necessarily a bad thing as long as I keep this plant in check. I think it's so beautiful. I love it as a ground cover towards the front of a flower bed. And I'm definitely removing bottom leaves because I want the nicest looking leaves to appear. And I'm dividing it down to single pieces because I want to maximize the amount of plants I can get, knowing very well that this plant will propagate very quickly over time on its own. A lot of times you can also just pull off the bottom leaves. Some of these leaves in the back are pretty big, and I want this plant to recover from what we're doing here because it is middle of summer. Normally you'd want to do this job in the spring or the fall. So I just want the least amount of leaves here just so that the plant can recover quickly. Sometimes you can take the plant and just pull it apart, but I just prefer to use my hand pruners. Just like many of my projects, it's the next day, and I just wanted to give you an idea of how big this space is. It's not terribly wide, but it is very long. So it's a good sized space that we're filling here. But the good news is that I got all of the lamb's ear divided. I used my feet and I basically just pretty much almost every 1 foot I planted a lamb's ear. And I had to space a few of those more far apart because they were too close and I needed to pull from there. So these will fill in over time. Again, I'm going to be watching them because I know lamb's ear can be aggressive, but I think it's going to be a beautiful ground cover towards the front of a flower bed. And since it is easy to pull out, if I find that it's spreading a little too aggressively, I can always pull some out. I'm going to take you in for a closer look just so you can see what they look like. They were a little sad yesterday. They look better this morning. They definitely perked up. They were looking really, really sad yesterday. Basically, the pattern just goes on to the end of this bed. And this is just the other side of the flower bed. See those coneflowers right there? I love them. I think they look so pretty in this bed. And since I have a lot of coneflower in my backyard plant nursery, I want to take you shopping so we can get some more. And we're going to plant some probably here. And there's some spots over here, maybe over there. But we're going to tuck some in here because I think that they would look really pretty. Just for perspective, we are working way down over there, over that hill. And if we head this way, this is my driveway. And on this side of the driveway is what I call my plant nursery. This is a nursery where people come and they buy plants from me. It's a fun hobby that I have, but it's also a plant nursery where I put plants that I winter sow or that I divided from my yard that I want to use for projects in my own yard. I want to bring you right down there. There's some beautiful stuff happening. Look at those very pretty coneflowers. I winter sowed a number of coneflowers 2 years ago. Last year they didn't bloom, so this is their first year blooming. They're so pretty, and there are a lot of different kinds in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go shopping, we're going to pick up some coneflowers, and we're going to get them planted in our space that we're working on today. Even though it's the middle of summer, and it's probably not the best time to be doing a lot of these projects that I'm doing in my videos lately, it's the best time for me to be doing these projects because, for example, I can see what my coneflowers look like. Some of them are not blooming and won't bloom this year. And some, this is their first year blooming. So since I can see their faces, I want to be able to plant them around my yard based on the different colors and heights and things like that. The key is to make sure they get plenty of water. This flower bed does have drip irrigation, plus we had a lot of rain last night, but I'm still going to give it a good drink of water after I get all of these planted today. Also, I know I have some spring bulbs scattered throughout this bed. So when I'm digging, I might find some spring bulbs in here. I'm just going to leave them as is. And next year, if I need to move some of those bulbs around, I can do that then. When I planted this coneflower, it was a teeny tiny plant because it was winter sown. It was in a milk jug. And it's in a tiny 3-inch pot. You can see the roots are coming out of the bottom. So they really will benefit from coming out of their pots this year and getting put in the ground. And I'm going to try all of these out in this bed, all the coneflowers that we're going to plant today. And if I'm not happy with them, I can always move them at a later date. The key is getting them out of their pots because the time has come. I'm just roughing up the roots a tiny bit. I'm going to plant it as deep as it was in the pot. I just want to make sure that the leaves are above soil level, the roots are below soil level, and now I'm just going to backfill. Look how pretty that combination is. I really love it. The name of this coneflower that we just planted is called Green Twister, and I bought the seeds from rareseeds.com, which is Baker Creek. I have my work cut out for me. I'm going to keep on planting coneflowers on this side as well as on this side. I'm going to put down a layer of mulch, and I'm going to show you what everything looks like when this project is complete. The lamb's ear looks sad again, but each morning it bounces back, so I have no doubt it will bounce back over time. You can see the mulch has been added, and look how pretty these coneflowers are. I found some very pretty ones to add to this bed. I also ended up adding a bunch of wax begonias. I started these from seed during the winter months. They've been sitting in their poor 6 cell packs. So I figured, you know what? I might as well pop them in here as well. I tell you, winter sowing perennials is so easy and it's so worth it. You can get some really nice plants that way. There's a very pretty hydrangea that I added here last year, and it's looking beautiful in the back of this bed. Mulch always makes plants pop, I swear. I'm very happy I ended up getting mulch this year. Some really pretty white colored coneflower as well as the green twister. And then here's the original patch of the echinacea. And I am glad that I added the begonias towards the front. I just had to clean them up a little bit. Right there, it looks like I missed putting mulch there, but that's not the case. There's a rock there. I figured I might as well expose it, and if I wanted to, I could cover it. But I do like having hardscape or rocks in the yard. That coneflower that I've added in a few places, including right here, definitely looks a little bit pinker. If you compare that to this one over here. And that's why I pulled them, because I think I winter sowed some sort of a berry colored echinacea, and I think it's very pretty, so I wanted to make sure I took it for myself. And again, here's a nice, almost like a buttercream colored one, yellow. They're different heights, and time will tell if some of them will get taller. Everything looks okay. There's one over here that looks a little sad. It's just drooping its head, but it should be hopefully fine tomorrow. Around this tree, in case you're wondering, I just have a little hosta that I put as a ring around this tree. And also, I have other things that I'd like to do in this bed, but I'll just do it separately, not as part of the video. Towards the back where the iris are, I think I'm just going to cut them back. Not all the way because it's still feeding the rhizomes for the season, but I'll cut them back partially because they're just flopping over and looking a little messy. And another thing I'd like to do, I may film it or I may just do it as a project by myself, is this area here. Last year together, we added a bunch of things into this space, and it didn't really look that great, and the grass just gets into this area. So what I'm thinking for this year is I'd like to pull out everything, or at least mostly everything in this space, and put a couple of just container pots there. I think that would look really pretty. But look how nicely everything has filled in. I am very pleased with this project. I think it looks so much better than before. We've been making a lot of progress this year with the one flower bed at a time goal that I've set for this year. And I don't know how many flower beds I'm going to get to from now until the end of the season, but I'm just going to keep on trucking away and shopping my own yard. I still have a lot of annuals that I started from seed that need to get in the ground. I still have beautiful perennials in my plant nursery that I put in there for a purpose to put in my flower beds. So we're going to continue shopping the plant nursery. And it's a great time of year to find plants marked down on clearance. So I'm definitely checking the clearance racks because I might find plants that I don't have that I really want to add to my garden space. So be on the lookout for those videos. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it motivated you or inspired you in some way. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.